No, he was asking whether there's, uh, welcome back. In Tamil, they'll say if you want to uh, please somebody, in Hindi it is called Maskamarna. In Tamil, they'll say soap adikira. He's putting soap on you. हाँ so soap का timing was also good because after such a heavy session सबके ऊपर soap लगा दिया so you can come back and मस्का मारा soap adikira. Yeah. Actually, Suraj was inquiring whether there are other levels to this session. I'll anyway share that information on the group. But just so you know and you're clear, this has been around since about 20 years, and the propounder was my teacher, Sri Nagaraji. When he taught, there was no board, etc. He discovered things, all right, and I'll mention that. Uh, yeah, maybe tomorrow or the after before we close, before the last people leave. Um, but really, that was in 1972 when he felt that he had understood everything, and he started sharing it in about late 1980s. And he would take it for about 5 or 10 days, and it was just like a free floating. He would just talk to people, just sitting there. Uh, and then slowly in the early 90s, some people who were at IIT Delhi at that time felt that this was making a lot of sense, and they started sharing it in the form of these 7 day sessions with a board, back then with a blackboard, and then people started using a whiteboard. Um, I've taken the traditional old format in mind because I wanted to try it this time. And so thank you for coming to allow me to try it. Uh, the usually the popular version of this workshop takes a different route. It starts with knowledge of myself, and then it goes to human relations. So you understand self, family, society, nature, and then existence. So this will actually come on the last day. So there's a lot of, so that gives an opportunity to deal with issues that most of us face in daily life. 99% of humanity is not wondering where I came from and what is space and, why I have conflict, and these are not our concerns. Our concerns are usually more daily, and sometimes we don't have any concern at all. Everything is really fine until somebody comes, along and says you need to be happy, and you're like, oh, I thought I didn't want to be happy, and then you start off. Okay. But really, the easier version of the workshop, which is conducted, and maybe we'll do one that way also, is you they cover family, which we will start now, and society, nature, okay, and then comes to existence on the last day. Typically, about 2 sessions are spent on existence. I think we spent about 3 sessions, and also in a very relaxed format. तो उसमें जाता है व्यक्ति, परिवार, समाज, प्रकृति और अस्तित्व, ऐसे 4 उसमें करेंगे. हमने क्या किया, we've done self, existence, the tougher part, because that's the way, if you want to give it the term, knowledge is really organized. That the basis for what we discuss in family, etc., really is in the understanding of existence, as we'll see very shortly. Um, so, yeah, so this really, the particular session that we currently took is somewhere between our level, what we would call as a first and second level introduction. So very briefly, the stages are, we have an introduction stage. So we have introduction 1 and 2. So you kind of already attended the one between 1 and 2. That is typically first 1 and 2. Okay. Then I have been advocating a foundation stage. That's not currently very. So we have a foundation. So typically the introduction stage is 7 days, and people attend up to 2 such sessions. A lot of people find a lot of answers and a lot of relief in their daily life. be it to do with issues to do with money or just the whole fact that you can bring life together and, maybe get some insight into how to deal with someone. We've had people whose divorces were reversed. We have a friend who actually, a couple who, whatever. So they were staying overseas and they met each other. आज के दिन जो love marriage बोलते हैं वो हुआ. And of course, over a period of time, differences started popping up. So when they were in the US, they divorced. But they didn't want to tell their parents because the parents sort of felt bad. So every time they traveled back to India, they would stay together or pretend to be husband and wife and then go back and stay separately. Then our friend attended this introductory session sometime. Then she was still friends with her estranged, with a divorced husband. So she called up the husband and said that, I think you should attend this. So he attended it. Then they both attended it together. Then they realized they made a mistake and they want to get back together. So, but they were divorced. So they came back to India and they went and told their parents, get us married again. So parents said, but what? He said, no, we've been divorced for 4 years. We didn't tell you, no, we can't marry each other. Somebody has to get you married, right? You just can't marry yourself. So then they had a second marriage. Same couple. And they're together now. So we've seen effects like that in the introductory session, which is given with their Parichaya Shivir. The content will still be the same. We'll be studying of self and conscious. Ikai and Vyapak will come. Relationships will come. But maybe in lesser detail than we've taken here in this session. We've taken the 10 kriyas. We've spent some time on the Tulan kriyas, etc. Usually that may not be taken. Also, we spent a lot of time trying to see the difference between the self and the body. Maybe in those sessions we don't do that much. So we have that, and then we have the foundation level, or we have study. So again, the second session will be around 8 days, and typically people attend about 2 sessions. Okay, and then we have a foundation block that I have been advocating that I will share with you. Which could be about 1 or 2 more sessions with some reading and then we have the study. So if you want to do formal study after the foundation, for the formal study we have a set of 12 books which are in Hindi, but we have online lectures explaining the books. Okay. And we've been able to create a study packet, a single PDF in which you have all the information. Basically, you can start on the top, do the foundation, then go to the study, and you can pretty much do it online. Although online is not recommended, as you can see, the effect or impact of being here with somebody who can, for instance, if somebody has to explain space or the void to you, you can see that only somebody who can see it will be able to explain to you. If I just speak the words, you think it will get communicated? If I just speak the words, Ikai hai, Vyapak hai, but I don't understand it, do you think you will understand it? No, it's not going to happen. Yeah, it's not just the word. You just cannot get it from video. You need a person who's been, whatever, a little settled in it at some stage to be able to really, communicate it. So, so we have stages, and I will, on the group, I will post a PDF and also a website link on which you can get material to read immediately after the workshop, both in Hindi and English, and also some documents that will help you up to the foundation stage. Typically, people do 2 sessions in about 6 months and then go on to do the second level session for another year. And those who are still interested would want to do the foundation, and those who are still interested will do the study once, and those who are still interested will study 5 times or 6 times, and those who are still interested will continue to do it. That's what I did. I read the 12 books of 3,600 pages about 7 or 8 times in the past 12 years. So I have covered issues. We've been in this together. And, so we'll share that. Yeah. So that's that. So there are, so because it has to go all the way up to where we want to go. Yeah. So you can go as much as you want to go. There's no stopping us. If we really, really put our minds to this and really pay attention to it and understand it, you will end up appreciating or understanding everything that everybody else has understood today. Everything that everybody else has understood today is contained within this understanding. वहां तक जाता है. So basically, it can go as much as we want to. And it finally culminates in the realization that I'm drenched in space. So it goes all the way up to that realization. Okay. We have videos, we have 2 YouTube channels. I'll give all the names. Okay. One is by students like people like me. We have one channel in which we have videos of my teacher in English. We are in the process of editing most of them and making them available. We've got about 600 hours of audio recordings with him on various subjects. Yeah. The videos? Yeah. You mean whether it's categorized? Yeah, they're categorized. And they're very categorical also. So, yeah, they have been categorized. So, some of them, we've not been able to edit all the videos, but yeah, at least you have it as a preliminary and so on. So I'll give a single website link in which you can easily, it's already there, but I'll just point it out to you. Okay, good. So now we are 2/3 of the way home. Only 1/3 of the journey is pending. We understood myself. Okay, in an effort to really figure out our 4 dimensions of life, we said, okay, we want happiness in all of them, and the knowledge that's really needed is understanding of all this. So we took myself and we looked at existence. And the reason we really looked at existence is because everything we want to live with, or we do live with, is in existence. The other thing we were able to do really by understanding the fundamental of existence is trying to see how everything came to be and how I came to be. So I study myself, and in the process of studying myself, this natural inquiry of how did I come to be and how did everybody else come to be that I'm supposed to live with. Yeah, are they just a product of some random event? Are we just different people who popped out of different people's wombs, or is there something more to it? How do we relate to somebody? What should be or is the basis for that relationship is something which is a very natural inquiry. If you look at the understanding really bottom up, and which is why we in the past 3 sessions really looked at existence, and then if you remember or recollect, we looked at everything that's on this planet as 4 orders, and we also saw that every order or every unit in every order actually has 4 dimensions, which is the form, the properties, the basic nature, and its innate order, which we call as Roop, Gun, Swabhav, and Dharma. Okay. So what does that mean, and why do I need to study that? Well, the simple reason is that if I understand or appreciate not just the appearance or Roop and properties or gunas of the 4 orders, but if I'm also able to see the Swabhav and Dharma, then that becomes the basis for my relationship with them. What does that mean? So, do I relate with you based on how you look? Okay, let's say I don't shave for 15 days and you see me and your behavior towards me changes. But does that change me as a person? No, it's just my hair that has changed. Okay, let us say, marry somebody because they are good looking, and as they age, their looks will change. So does that mean the marriage is broken? The answer is no. I like my child because she looks young and cute, and as she goes older, she's not going to look cute. She'll be 18 and 20 and 21 and no longer look cuddly, and I won't be able to pick her up. But does that mean my affection with her changes? The answer is no. Yeah. So really, when we see appearance by itself cannot be the sole basis for my relationship with anybody who is a human. Similarly, appearance by itself cannot be the basis even for living with matter in the material world. For instance, you have a beautiful looking house, but it is made of cardboard. You can't use it. It has to be a robust house. This house may not be a very beautiful looking house, but it's solid. You want something, but it's solid. Yeah. Allah. So, but but it's solid, right? And if it is solid, I know that it's going to last. For instance, when you go to buy a bag in the market, है ना आपको एक बैग एक हैंड बैग खरीदना, let's say a lady's handbag. It's a nice, beautiful looking handbag. It's pink in color and whatever. And then you take it and then you say, this is very nice looking. And then somebody may say, the build is actually flimsy. The handle doesn't seem so strong. The zipper doesn't seem to be so strong. So I think this is going to break. So just put it back. What happened? The roof is good, the form is good, but the quality, the property is not to my suiting. Yeah. Now, let us say I find a good looking handbag and it is also nice. I can zip it up and everything is okay. And I buy one handbag and I buy two and I buy three and I buy four. And slowly I start feeling that to feel happy every month, I need to buy two handbags. You think that's going to work? No. Why not? Because the swabhav of the handbag is composition and decomposition. It belongs to the material order, if you recollect. And I know that when I buy a handbag, it is going to decompose. Any material thing that you own is going to go away. Even if it is your great new BMW, it will get a scratch someday. The tires will get worn out on one day, it's going to be gone. So that cannot be the basis for my permanent relationship with the thing. You understand? When we are able to understand the fundamental aspects of existence, we are able to better see how to fundamentally relate with each other as human beings and how to fundamentally relate with the rest of nature. Similarly, when I interact with nature, if I look at nature only based on what it seems like, right? So, we, I mean, I suddenly remember something. We used to stay at somebody's house and it is in a hill station and we stayed there for many years. And there was this, the people who stayed there, the sons of the person that I knew, built a very large house, the largest in that town. So, they felt good because then they felt that they were the biggest people in that town. Massive cement house, white with nice, red ceiling and all that. And you could see the house from a distance if you came by the car. So there's a beautiful lake and there is hills, it's a hilly terrain and you could see the house. But the thing is, there was this huge old tree that was right at their front yard and you could not see the house because of that tree. And you know what their plan was? To cut that tree so people could see our house as they were approaching the. When I heard of it, I was aghast because that tree must have been at least 100 years old and there were four trees growing in that one tree. Very rare. एक पेड़ में चार पेड़, two मिलता, three मिलता, four बहुत मुश्किल है. Very difficult to find four. So really, I mean, when we talk of pollution, I mean, just before the break, Sanjeev Patil ji was talking about. So when you read news about what's happening on the planet, and finally, I inferred that it'll only take me into depression. It'll seem like doomsday is near. The water's going to get over, we'll die, there'll be no air, and so he said somebody's saying there's only 16 years left. I said if that's the case, let's just eat pani puri and go back to sleep because we can't do anything in 16 years. It's too short a period of time. You might as well enjoy whatever time you have left, forget all the workshops, go to Dandeli, go to Goa, son, just wait for 16 years and say bye-bye. 16 years is too short. Yeah. Nothing is going to happen. So really, how do we see nature? Do we see it as something that I need to beautify my house and surroundings? Do I just use the trees because I like keep having them at home, or do I understand the swabhav of the plant and the animal order? Okay, to really interact with it. So we are going to see how what we studied or what we kind of examined about the four orders and them having Rugun Swabhadharm influences our behavior, uh, and living with human beings and with nature. Okay. And the only other thing that we kind of covered in the previous session was, if you remember, units and space. And if we were wondering why should we even study space, for the simple reason that that is the only other thing besides units, and we wanted to see whether it was controlling it, or we wanted to see whether we came out of it We wanted to see whether space or God could help us, because then we could all stand up and pray saying, please save our planet. We only have 16 years left. But we found out there's nobody there. It's empty. Yeah. And the planet is also in this emptiness. So we're really on our own. There is nobody to pray to. Whatever situation we are in has been self-created, and whatever situation we want to get out of has to be also self-created. Okay, overall. So that brings us to the third aspect, really relationship. That's what we have on the board. And what does relationship mean? Our conduct or character, which is really the effect we have around us. What does it mean to relate? Finally, what impact am I having on my surroundings? I'm having some impact on the people around me, because if I have only the first two knowledge, I have knowledge of myself and knowledge of existence. I'm like this 18 hours a day. मेरा self ज्ञान भी हो गया, existence ज्ञान भी हो गया. Now you go figure out your ज्ञान. But the problem is there is relationship, and I have some impact in that relationship on the people around me. Okay, we'll talk of human relationships and how we see people. This is what we're going to do. So we already saw that what is myself, it is a conscious, it's called the Jivan. It has 10 activities, out of which only 4.5 are currently active. And when 10 are active, it is called awakening. What is existence? Existence is just material and conscious units saturated in void of space. That brings me to what is my relationship with material and conscious units in space. Simple. So I am interacting with other humans, which are basically conscious units of type human order in family, in society. I am interacting with other units which are material in nature, and some conscious units like bulls and cows and buffaloes, which are part of nature. Itna hi hai. This is all there is to human life. So we have some questions to reflect on. Number one, would you like your behavior to be definite or indefinite? Definite. Would you like to have true self confidence in that you're doing the right thing? Yeah. Would you like to be complementary with other humans and nature, or exploit them? Complementary. See, remember we said that in checking, in relationship, we will check, whether it is naturally acceptable to me. Yeah, we're using three different test methods for the three different areas of assessment or reality. Would you like to live with awareness or simply float through life? I would like to live with awareness. Uh, yeah. The other two, the first one is when it comes to activities in the self. Okay, you can't see. When it comes to activity, इन्होंने चश्मा घर पे छोड़ दिया, and you cannot see the board from there. ठीक है, जिनको चश्मा है उनको भी नहीं दिखता है. दिखने के बाद भी. So the first one is activities in the self are done by self scrutiny. Okay, anything to do with the self. You think, you feel bad, you feel good, all that. Anything to do with existence, we have to check whether it is existentially true. Using different faculties, sometimes testing, sometimes analysis, and sometimes just imaging. Okay, we will use all. आपके पास ना तीन औजार है. You have three, like you have five senses outside, you have three senses inside, three faculties inside. You have Aswadan, you have, Man, you have the Vritti, which is a region of logic, and you have imaging. Okay, so use all three. And the third one is naturally acceptable or not. Because naturally acceptable is what it basically denotes my swabhav. What is my basic nature? What we really want to discover, or really, basically discover or identify, is, what is my basic nature when it comes to interacting with other humans. Because I seem to be doing something that people don't like. Others seem to be doing something that I don't like. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. So really, when it comes to relationships, you see, there is a very beautiful analogy in the darshan, and I'll probably put it here on the um, here, right here, maybe so. And you can read it as I type it. I just remembered it. Just as an atom has a definite behavior and definite behavior, you know, conduct, and I'm just putting in bracket, knows what to do with atoms, molecules, units of different kinds under different circumstances. So also I would like to or need to know how exactly to be to behave with units. Yeah, and units is basically humans of different kinds in different circumstances in a definitive way. So really what's being stated is that if you look at, or when we look at, because I'm also looking with you, when I use the term, if you look at it, it seems that I'm not looking and only you have to look because I'm done with looking. I'm still looking, so you can look along with me. We'll all try and look together. It's really everything else in nature seems to know exactly what to do with something else in every circumstance. Okay. You put hydrogen and water together and you increase the temperature and it will vaporize. You try to bring down the temperature, it will freeze. Hydrogen knows what to do with oxygen under what circumstance. If one oxygen comes, it will say, मैं तेरे साथ पानी बनाऊंगा. If two comes, it will say, मैं तेरे साथ पानी नहीं बनाऊंगा. I will not make water with you. Okay. The neem tree knows what to know with the coconut tree, saying, I'll let you be. There are plants that know what to do with an insect. They will not eat certain insects and they will eat a certain insect. The bee seems to know where on the plant to go and sit. And why is it that I don't know what to do when I see the plant? Should I sit on the plant? Should I keep it in the house? Should I sell it? Should I give it to you? Should I say I love you? Will you slap me? कुछ नहीं समझ में आता है. So this behavior that we have, it seems that we have to discover it, and the only basis we have for discovering it really is existence. Where else do I go and ask? We just went all the way up to space and we found out God is sleeping and never going to wake up. He's not going to tell us anything. Who else will tell us what to do? Yeah. So, uh, so just as an atom has a definite behavior and knows what to do, we too want to discover what is our definite conduct and what is our definite conduct really being in my swabhav and my gun. What is the human swabhav and the human gun? What is the human swabhav and human quality or human properties of being? What does that mean? With all human beings, what is going to be my position? What is that position that I need to have or imbibe or adopt or accept with all human beings that's going to be complementary and cause for my being in non-conflict or in happiness? When a human being of type wife comes in this situation, what is going to be my role there and what am I going to do? When a human being of type angry wife comes, what am I supposed to do? When a human being of type not angry wife comes, what am I supposed to do? When, and so on. So there are these different, what we call as mutualities, alag-alag parasparta. Hmm? Just like hydrogen has to know how to deal with oxygen and potassium and nitrogen, we have like 7, 8, 10, 12 varieties around us. We've got the businessman and we've got a brother and a younger brother and an older brother and a father, and they're all may or may not be good because they're all shaky. So if we can find out or I can find out what is my stable state of being and what is the stable state of being of these different mutualities, these different relationships. At least I know what to do. And then they have to figure out that that is the right thing to do. So I need to do two things. One is figure out these mutualities, figure out how to be in them, and also how to continue to be in them irrespective of them not being in them. ये तीनों चाहिए. Because otherwise what happens is usually I'm creating some problem. I'm upset about something. I have a stomachache, I've got acidity, I didn't sleep last night, my business is going down the drain. Somebody said something to me, I don't know what to do with my life, and Upar said this person is not behaving properly. It's gone. Or the other way around. Yeah, I'm totally fine. The other person is having a bad day, and their bad day becomes worse and worse and worse, and zoop, after some time, it's just, I've had it. By 4 p.m., I'm gone. One of the two is happening. And despite all the knowledge about string theory and the fact that there is space and there is nobody, I still lose it. So there seems to be a different set of understanding that we have to see and develop to be able to know how to deal with this external, uh, events that are taking place, irrespective of our inner clarity of what is right and wrong, about the larger questions of life, about the number of galaxies and all that, which is one dimension, which is why it's very beautiful the way these four dimensions are really put together, because one cannot replace the other, and just having one will not ensure the other. Understanding the existential truth and understanding who I am will give me the answers for what the behavioral and material dimensions are. But I still have to go ahead and really understand it and implement it. Okay. So with that, let's proceed. That's Windows 10 on an old Dell laptop. Okay. So we did see that there are these four orders, and very clearly, again, just to reiterate the point, the other three orders are in uh, order amongst themselves and between each other. And we see that except the human, everything else is complementary. Okay, and we have some examples that we've already gone through. And we are in disharmony within and spreading it outside. Correct. And really, how do we find out what is correct for us? So that is called knowledge of humane conduct. It's also called Manvitapun Acharan Gyan, which is what we want to find out. We look at some of the basics of humane conduct and we'll leave the rest for a level 2 session or later. The songs in the four southern states all sound similar. Only the language is different. It's like they all like the same tune. I was just trying to, that guy is, again the tractor. And the northern states have their own taste. And then the hill regions have their own taste. Hilly songs have their own, अलग ही है. If you go towards Himachal and Uttarakhand and Kashmir. Kashmir का अलग है. Farsi आ जाता है. Kashmir is closer to Farsi. Folk song ज्यादा है. Because बाकी सब वैसे भी ट्रैक्टर में शास्त्रीय संगीत को कोई नहीं सुनेगा. Dharwad is famous for music, no? Jnanpith, a lot of Jnanpith awardees, and Dharwad is famous for, what is her name? Gangubai Hangal. I used to listen to a lot of her music before. Bhimsen Joshi, Mallikarjun Mansur is also from here. पुणे में भी चल रहा है सवाई गंधर्व महोत्सव for 10 days we missed it and मैं भूल गया. Also very crowded. By the time you get in and get out, you'll be crushed. Too crowded. The guy is not letting us concentrate. He's like, he's changed the CD today. The answer. So this is where we are. Knowledge of self, knowledge of existence, and knowledge of human conduct. So when we see this, we realize what is the human purpose or goal, and the human purpose or goal is really to understand or awaken to all of this, and also to live in coexistence. So to understand coexistence and live in all aspects of coexistence, this much is the human goal, So what do I need to do? I need to first identify what are the laws of human living. Alright, how am I supposed to be? What are the laws of my existence? The neem tree seems to know its laws. The cow seems to know its laws. Even the donkey knows its laws. Okay. But what are the human beings' laws? Is he supposed to be like a donkey, like a horse? What are our laws? Hmm? And then we'll see how we are able to go ahead and fulfill our relationship. Okay. So, so that's a little small representation here. So these are the three things. Understand myself, understand existence. You can start either way, either from here to there or here to here. This workshop we started from here. Otherwise, first day we would have started with units and space. ज़्यादा हो जाता ना? First day, first show would have started with units and space. You have been born, and then we'll talk about what is the self. So in the level 2 workshop, we start from here. Okay, typically, or level 2, 3 ahead. So in the simpler unit, the workshop, they'll start from here. I started from here, median. That is toughest, starting from there. When Nagarajji used to put the workshop, we'll start from here. Okay. So what is it? Knowledge of existence, knowledge of myself, and knowledge of humane conduct. So what does human conduct consist of? It consists of these things. One is what is the identification of right and wrong? As a human being, how do I know whether it's right and wrong? So today, even if you ask the question, is destroying the planet or destroying other species right or wrong? What is the answer? What does it feel? It feels implicitly wrong, but what is the proof for it? There are other people there who think it's not a big deal. Our whole problem is about 10 of us feel you should save and everybody else is saying, Rehne do. The planet is for me to have fun on. In fact, we have religious texts or may have religious texts which actually claim that the planet is here for human enjoyment only. Yeah. And if you don't have to take care of the planet, we have scriptures that are saying this. Okay. So there are religious beliefs around it. So it's very complicated. So we have to really understand what is wisdom or vivek. Vivek essentially means the ability to discriminate between right and wrong. सही गलत का पहचान. जैसे पेड़ काटना है. Should I cut a tree? Should I not cut a tree? If I'm cutting a tree, should I plant one? Should I not plant one? Is it okay to destroy an entire forest to plant ginger? Yesterday, one Mysore MP's brother was caught cutting a 2.5. Pratap Simha's brother was, sanctioned cutting of 130 fully grown trees in Chikbalapur to plant ginger. And some Tehsildar caught him, and now it's become a case. Is it right or wrong? How do we know what is right and wrong? Okay, so that is wisdom. And then we have what is called as living. Okay, so knowledge of human conduct consists of these things: ethics, values, and policy. And we'll get there. So again, I've written this here: knowledge of existence of self. Knowledge of existence and knowledge of self leads to knowledge of humane conduct. So wisdom is ethics, discriminating between true and false based on knowledge, and then identifying the goals of human living. Leads to living with people. So if you don't know what is right and wrong, we won't know how to live with people. You don't know what is right and wrong, I don't know how to live with nature. So I need the laws of living for both aspects. So what are the laws? Very simple. We go back to our first day discussion. We said we have 4 dimensions of living: the intellectual, the material, the behavioral, and the spiritual. Okay? He's having fun, he's happy, he slept well, woken up. Right. So, you remember these 4 dimensions, just to bring everybody: intellectual, behavioral, and material. So, I need a law for my intellectual aspect. So, the law to regulate the intellectual aspect. I need a law to regulate the material aspect because that is going to give me prosperity. I need a law to regulate my behavioral aspect. Okay. And I don't need a law to regulate the spiritual aspect because it is already in regulation. Nature is already in regulation. So I have to really understand laws in these 3 areas. Okay. So the first one is, yeah, यही कर ले क्या? We just started. हाँ, we took a longer break. यही कर लेते हैं. हाँ, वापस नहीं आएंगे. जिसको आना आएंगे, कोई नहीं आएगा चाय पीते. और यदि वीडियो रिकॉर्डिंग नहीं होता तो छोड़ भी देते. उनको पैसा भी दिया है आप 15 दिन का. अभी तो पूरा करके ही छोड़ना पड़ेगा रिकॉर्डिंग. Units and space. The spiritual dimension is really trying to understand what exists and how things came to be. And we find that things are already existing. I don't need to do anything about it, and things have already come to be. Okay. Through a process of evolution, we are already formed. We already have bodies. It so happens that we have 2 hands and 2 feet. We don't have any choice in that. Whether I should have 3 hands or 4 hands, it would have been easier to have a fifth hand, fourth hand. Like I could have had a reversing camera, an eye at the back. So I know who's coming, approaching me from the back. Also, कितना मजा आता है ना? They're walking in the front, पीछे भी दिख रहा है. We don't have one. You just imagine. I mean, even if the body was constructed a little differently, life would seem so different. You have one on the top also to look at the bird. Then you don't know where the guy is looking. है ना? ऊपर भी है, पीछे भी मौज. कितना मजा आता. मैं सामने आपसे बात कर रहा हूँ, ऊपर चिड़िया देख रहा हूँ. आपको लग रहा है मैं आपसे बात कर रहा हूँ. तो इमेजिन स्कूल की क्या हालत होती है ना टीचर की. यहाँ देख रहे कि नहीं? जी मैडम, आप ही को देख रहा हूँ. देख रहा हूँ ऊपर. हाँ, हाँ, ले लेते हैं. एवरीबडी कैन टेक द टी एंड कम बैक. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಪಾಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ. Nice. We thought we'll get the tea here to save time. And what happened? The tea came here, but everybody went out. उल्टा हो गया. Whatever. we don't have time. Otherwise, like I was sharing, we should probably, the ideal way to do this workshop is to have, let's like 20-25 days. In fact, I was just thinking that you do like a 1.5 hour session, and then take a 1.5 hour break for some activity. Come back to another 1.5 hour session, and then do an activity related to that. For instance, if you're doing a session on, let's say, relationship, and then I don't know, go out and have an activity on relationship. If you're doing an activity, on nature, and then we say, okay, we have half an hour. Can we go out and really identify what is in which order? Okay, and then come back with questions like, I found a beetle and what order is it in? I found a bug and what does it have? A jiva, does it have brain? So it's like theory and some break and some doing and observation. Um, no. This is when we have a shortage. For students is different. No, with students you have them for 12 years. Adults you have them for 12 days. That's the difference. In the Shivir, then you won't have the content. Time कहाँ से आएगा? Huh? So you lose 30% of the content. और क्या? You have 4 sessions a day, an hour and a half to 2 hours each. If you knock off 1 session a day, then you basically remove 25% of the content. And the joke is everybody is doing some activity back home. And
Ganesh is adding that activity. That is helping a lot of people.
Yeah?
Ganesh Magadiaji is adding
In the
activity.
Parichya Shivir.
No,
No. Not in the introductory session.
No. When you talk about 20 to 25 days, that activity can also be added.
Yeah. We do it in our 3-year programs and 1-year programs where we have younger people. Yeah.
Observing self and
Sar
observing.
Satra is an overview Satra.
Yeah.
It's not Sar, it is overview. Okay. So I'll just try and depict this here. So maybe it'll help us kind of latch on to this. That's me. Okay. And I'm interacting with the world from here. Okay. So there's behavior. Alright. There is with people. And then there is interaction or work. Yeah. Or experiencing nature. I have my intellect, which are my thoughts. Okay, this is just a depiction. And there is understanding. What have I understood? I've understood who I am. I've understood all of existence. Okay, what did I understand in existence? Why did I come to be? How did I come to be? Why and how people came to be? And why and how nature came to be. This is what we've covered so far. Correct? इतना समझ में आया ना? How and why I came, how and why people came, how and why nature came, and how I am. I have 10 activities. So now I have a better picture of myself. Now I have to figure out what to do with my intellect, what to do in the behavioral dimension, what to do in the interaction with nature, how to be. And these are actually the 3 laws. So one law is called intellectual law in the self. I'm going to write it in Hindi. I'm sure everybody understands the word Bauddhic Niyama. Okay. This with people is called Samajik Niyama. With nature is called Prakritik Niyama. What do these niyams or niyamas ensure? It basically ensures that my way of thinking is not a nuisance to myself. Okay, I don't get thoughts that are going to trouble me. That my behavior with people is not in such a way that it is a nuisance for humanity. And my interaction with nature is not a nuisance for nature. Why? Because I have found that I don't want to be a nuisance. I don't want to create nuisance. I've also found that nature is not a nuisance. So I would like to be that way. So when I understand this, it becomes easier for me to reflect on and adopt these laws of being. So we'll go through the laws very briefly and then we'll dive into human relationships. We'll talk about what is trust, what the different kinds of relationships are based on these laws. Make sense? Yeah, na? Upfront, it's like you and I are God, we are creating a new human being. So what should he look like? What should be his intellectual laws? Are there any universal laws of thinking, of being within? Are there any universal laws of interacting with society? What is wrong and right in society? Is it okay to have, is it okay to steal? If it is not, then why is it wrong? Who said it is wrong? Is it okay to go and whatever, empty a forest? Is it wrong? Why is it wrong? And so on and so forth. That's what we want to do. So I'll go through the laws very briefly. We typically do not cover it in our introductory sessions. Like I said, I'm kind of between level 1 and level 2 or whatever is called as a level. So the ethics in the self are called Bauddhic Niyam and there are 5 of them. 2 are described. I have not described the other 3. The first one is called Vidya or erudition. Okay. What does erudition mean? It means that We adhere to what we have found to be true in existence and in the self. We do not encourage or maintain false impressions about the truth. ये सच्चाई है. So I'm going to stand by it now. Okay, I am there. Now I will no longer encourage I am not there, I am an illusion, you are an illusion. I have found that, space exists and it is void, and this is what I'm going to hold without troubling anybody. But I'm going to hold this true to me. Now I'm no longer confused. ये भी हो सकता है, वो भी हो सकता है. And I will not spread or encourage falsehoods. Right? I will not be party to that anymore. Even unknowingly or knowingly, I will not add to the confusion in the world. Number one. The second is called straightforwardness or saralta. Okay, what does saralta mean? I don't have ordinarily what is called as pride. Pride is called abhimana. I'm sure abhimana means anything. Abhimanam in Tamil. Abhiman is the same in all the 4 southern languages. We have 3 southern languages here. There were 2-3 people who were going to come from Andhra Pradesh, but they didn't turn up. One person registered yesterday from Andhra Pradesh for the workshop. Thoda late. If he comes now, I think वो बेहोश हो जाएगा ना. क्या चल रहा है? What are you doing? Can you imagine just to give us a sense of how much ground we've covered? If somebody comes into the workshop today, do you think they will follow what's happening? No. वो तो बेहोश हो जाएगा. जबकि it is just a question of 6 days. वो बोला क्या होगा? I came halfway through. In any other workshop, you can walk in halfway through and still continue meditation and pottery and gardening. इसमें तो कुछ नहीं समझ में आएगा. So we've covered significant ground internally. So no abhiman. So I am honest about my state. No hypocrisy. What does that mean? I don't have an air and pomp about what I know. मुझे ये पता है, मैं इतना बड़ा आदमी हो गया. Why? Because I found it is natural to existence. Knowledge is free and is available for everyone. Okay? So, being honest or factual in words and speech. So, I will only state that which is true. I'm not going to lie. Because there are no lies in reality. Okay? And being honest or factual indeed, doing as I say. If I say something, I will do it. यदि मैं बोलूंगा कि I will help you, I'll help you. If I say I'm going to study, I'll study. If I'm not going to do it, then I won't say it. Or I will call you and tell you I will not be able to do. So this allows us a degree of what is called as also honesty or lack of, abhiman or ego. Pride. Ego is different. Ego is ahankara. We'll not deal with ahankara in this session. Yeah. Maybe if you need some time later. Ahankara is a different one. The third one is called non-accumulation. So the Hindi words for this, in case you want to write it down, the Samskrita words are vidya, saralta, asangraha, sneh, and abhay. If you want, I can type it there. We have 2 more. Today's 30th. We have 1st and 2nd, right? 31st and 1st. Good. We have time. Sangraha. Till the last man is standing. Yeah. I mean, we'll do vasool of the entire video recording. I mean, we've paid for it till 6 p.m. He and I will continue the session till we finish everything. You will be there? Okay, good. Fearlessness, away. Okay. So, let's come back here. So that's vidya, saralta. And the third one is called asangraha, non-accumulation. What does that mean? Does that mean I have less? No. Does that mean I do tyaga? I let go of things? No. I assess what is needed for the maintenance of my body, but not just the body. It's not so restrictive. I assess what is needed for the material needs of my family. That includes everything. That includes a house, it includes shelter. And if you see, really that changes with time. What is needed to support and maintain a family today is different from what was needed 50 years ago. You didn't need electricity, you didn't need a gas connection, you didn't need Wi-Fi or whatever internet connection, you didn't need a phone. Okay, you didn't have to pay for education. All that's different. So asangraha really means that having understood that my needs are distinct from the needs of the body, I adopt a policy of not accumulating. And usually what do we accumulate? Can you accumulate things beyond the point? No, you can accumulate only money because you can store it in various forms. It can be virtual. You don't have to keep stacks at home. Put it in the bank and then the count keeps growing. And is there any limit for that count? No, because any number can be infinite, like the galaxies in the universe. 2 trillion है तो 4 trillion है, 4 trillion है तो 400 trillion. I don't know where to stop. Whereas here, because I've understood my needs, I know where to stop. Asangraha also means, in a positive sense, producing more than that is needed. Production of what? Anything that is essential for human living. And how do we know what is essential for human living? That is according to the human goal. So I won't make a nuclear bomb. I'm not going to make spare parts for nuclear devices. I will not make a missile. You want to make it, you make it. I'm not going to make it. Clear? What is needed to fulfill the human goal of what? Intellectual resolution. Yeah? You remember that? Prosperity in the family, fearlessness in society, and trust in nature. Which society feels more safe? Where everybody has a gun or where nobody has a gun? Where nobody has a gun. शांति से बैठे है ना. नहीं तो आई एम टेकिंग अ वर्कशॉप, यू डोंट लाइक व्हाट आई सेड, तो तुमने मार दिया, मुश्किल है ना. इन द यूएस है ना, इन द प्रीवियस 2 स्लाइड्स में तो कुछ भी बोला है ना. गॉड इज स्लीपिंग, बता गॉड को स्लीपिंग बोलता है, क्या हूं. So really, in many ways, although the Indian police force seems so primitive with their stick, you feel safer because at the most क्या होगा, एक डंडा तो मारेगा, you can still get along. I mean, compared to somebody holding a Mauser or an RPG for self protection, डंडा को हाँ रोक भी सकते हैं, है ना, but comparatively, finally डंडा भी नहीं चाहिए. The fourth one is called affection or sneh. So this defines my interaction with people and what affection in me is going to be cause for my happiness as well as the happiness of another person. Hatred or affection? When do I feel comfortable? When I have affection or when I have hatred? Affection. Yeah, affection is what is naturally acceptable to me, and interestingly, it is what is most acceptable to people. Even if somebody makes a big mistake and I maintain or manage to maintain affection, they will have to come around. They have no choice. And I'm not going to maintain this affection out of some idealism. I maintain it because it's going to lead to my happiness, because I found that there is no chaos in existence. Having studied existence, I find that this is my natural state of being and this is how I want to be as a human being. Right? And the fifth one is called fearlessness. Okay, and you remember when we spoke of the activities in the self, you may recollect that we spoke of 4 kinds of fear. There is pranbhay, fear of life. In the problems, there were 8 or 9 problems that I had listed. There is pranbhay, or fear of life, that I will die. Then there is manbhay, that I will lose respect. Then there is dhanbhay, that I will lose my wealth. And the fourth one is padbhay, I will lose my position in society. You will stop listening to me. That's also padbhay. A live example of padbhay during the workshop could be, this has been a very small, cozy group. Half of you have already attended the workshop, so you kind of signed up for this, which is why people have come back. But if it's a new session, sometimes what happens is you have, let us say, 100 and 125 people, and in the early days, I remember somebody would get into a long drawn argument about some aspect that they don't agree with, and then they will try and challenge you. Okay. And at that time, as a facilitator or somebody who's trying to share this for their practice, somebody may tend to get into an argument with them. And that's a sign of padbhay. That is because I'm sitting here, I will assume that you have to listen to me, and now I will have the last word no matter what. So I'll get into an argument and there'll be a back and forth. So they say that in the initial days when this was being shared, it would take 2 people to conduct the workshop. one to conduct it and the other guy to manage the audience. You know, because that's the way they were presenting it. And then, of course, we figure out smoother ways to do the communication. I mean, if you start the first day of the workshop, I am here to tell that all of you are living in animal consciousness. How do you think it will start? Huh? भाई एनिमल किसको बोलता है तू होगा एनिमल यू नो आई एम नॉट एन एनिमल so you basically what did we do? We ended up saying the same thing, but we demonstrated it and everybody wholeheartedly agreed. Okay, so yeah, ladies first.
Like if you can share in the context of vyavhar, like in real life, for example, is there any universal parameters, because we are talking about the law, so how I can check in myself, like whether I am living with non-accumulation or with accumulation? Like very simple example, like I have the 60 to 70 pairs of clothes. Before I was having 100. बहुत शॉपिंग कर लिया था, फिर मैंने विद्या मिला तो शॉपिंग बंद कर दिया और जितने ज्यादा लगे 30-40 पेयर्स दे दिए. अभी भी मुझे लगता है कि देयर आर सो मेनी पेयर्स ऑफ क्लोथ्स व्हिच इज अनटच्ड सिंस इयर्स.
मुझे दे दीजिए. जब देखिए क्या क्या एक्स्ट्रा तो दे दीजिए, उसमें बात क्या करनी है. So
like you know, but still I can see my attachment with those clothes.
Like so,
no, so that is, and we use like you know maybe once or twice when some function happens, or like you know, or even there are many clothes which are just lying there in the cupboard taking the place.
So see, so that's the thing.
Is it like you know asangra means this is my foolishness, I must, if I'm not using, I must give it. तो न्याय तो होगा, justice तो होगा, at least I can give to people, they can use it.
No, you won't get around to living it asangraha by forcing yourself to do something. That is an idealism. Idealism में यह है कि मैंने त्याग दिया, मुझे चाहिए तो भी मैंने त्याग दिया, because I'll get some punya points or I may get closer to salvation. Nothing is going to happen here. इधर नहीं होगा. That will not happen. In fact, that doesn't happen. Asangra here will be the outcome of some clarity, of understanding. Okay. So if I see that I still have attachment to clothes, it means that my assessment of the needs of the self and needs of the body, we spent an entire day doing that, has not happened properly. So I have to focus on that. Until then, I can still keep my clothes. See, as long as we are not stealing something, okay, bringing it home in a unlawful manner that doesn't belong to you, or by selling things that are detrimental to society, your wealth is your wealth, and it's really fine. You keep it. On the day you feel like giving it away, give it away. You don't have to feel bad about it and let it be. You can focus on the other areas. You can focus on straightforwardness. You can focus on vidya. So this is what the answer to that is. The vidya will lead to the non-accumulation. Vidya really is the difference between the self and the body, and the clarity in that. Okay. So that will come from doing this, and so if you really see, and we'll share the PPT, there are some exercises in each stack. At the end there were exercises, some of which we did and some of which we didn't do, and it's probably a good idea to do those exercises oneself, and also understand or spend more time, studying the Jivan Kriyas, or the Kriyas of the self, and trying to understand it. So because this has to be a natural process of letting go. So Tyag has a very beautiful definition in the darshan, and now I can share. Now, since we've covered so much, I can share with you some of the beautiful definitions in the darshan. Tyaga, it's the same in Tamil, so you won't have a problem, is called, Yeah. Kannada again is just a mix of all the other South Indian languages, sir. So you will have it in Kannada. Kannada base, okay. All the Kannadigas are sitting there, but it has Sanskrit at the base, and it elements of Tamil and elements of Marathi. Okay, because I know Tamil and Marathi, I can see words Tamil words and Marathi. Of course, you can argue that the Tamil people took words from Kannada and the Marathi people took words from Kannada and they took it away. But from the other side of the border, it seems like you took it. Okay, but yeah. So this is called anavashakta. Yeah, ka visarjan. You know what is Visarjan? Ganpati Visarjan. After 10 days, what you do with Ganpati? Bappa Moria, I don't need you anymore. Ciao. Visarjan. That is Bappa Moria. I can't see you every day. You come back. Putya Varshi Laukar. You come back next year quickly. But this year, I don't want you anymore. If you wanted, just as a joke, we wanted Ganpati that badly, shouldn't have, submerged. You should have kept him for another year. Also probably more environment friendly. That's become another big source of pollution in the Bombay seas and all the rivers in Pune. So now they have the Shadu Mati made of what is it? Lake clay. That's Shadu Mati and not out of POP. Nahi to POP ka ban raha tha. But now the lakes are in danger because all the Mati is becoming Ganpati Bappa. So what was started as a social reformist movement has become an environmental problem. Correct. So Anavashakta ka Visarjan. So what would Visarjan mean in English? Visarjan is not just giveaway. Okay, surrendering. Surrendering that which is not needed is called tyag. Not emerging. Surrendering is fine. Submerging is also fine, but that's only with Ganpati. But surrendering that which is unnecessary. Yeah. So anything that I deem to be necessary is still with me. I have 4 shoes and I can see or notice that I just need one, but I still like those other 3. So I still keep them. Because you won't gain anything by giving them away. The feeling of wanting is still there in me. Only what has happened is the shoes have gone away. But they're still inside me. Nahin. Like you said, you have 70 pairs of clothes and you don't feel like giving away the 40. And one day you just say, okay, let me just give away the 40. And you give away the 40. But if after giving away the 40, they're still there inside you, then they've really never gone. I mean, they just physically moved away somewhere. Somebody used them, but they're still sitting inside me. Okay? So if you really, really look at Asangraha, it will come down to that. And it is really a clarity of understanding. So I have to see that it is unnecessary. Not force myself to see what is unnecessary, and it has to come out of some understanding. Whether it is necessary or not, checkpoint, yeah. But before that, prior to that is really the understanding of existence. I mean, in the grand scheme of existence, where there is atomic progression and molecules and all the galaxies, what are 40 pairs of shoes? Nothing. the advantage or really the advantage of seeing the grandeur of existence is really we see how small some of our afflictions are. They can be so small. The whole planet is at stake. And I'm getting worried about 3 pairs of shoes. है ना? छोटा दिखेगा ना? दिखना. Okay? So we'll go ahead.
But yeah, what will be the checkpoint in the point of money, or the bank balance?
Bank balance, you will not understand accumulation. Bank balance is a mirage. It goes up, it comes down. You have to work yourself from requirements. We'll try to do that day after tomorrow. Only material things. You cannot accumulate people. The more you have, the merrier.
बैंक बैलेंस को देख के हमेशा लगता है कम है और होना चाहिए. मतलब दिस इज ऑल्सो अज्ञानता. मतलब या व्हाट चेक पॉइंट आई शुड ब्रिंग यार अभी इनफ है तू शांति रख. क्यों इनसिक्योरिटी है इतनी तुझ में? व्हाट विल बी द चेक पॉइंट फॉर द प्रैक्टिकल चेक पॉइंट कि भाई मनी अभी ठीक है, इतना है तो भी लगता है कम है.
Person to person vary bhi karega, but really the question is how do we know that we have enough? उसके लिए you have to, no, that will be addressed using two methods. One is really two approaches that we'll have to employ. The first one is we'll have to work our way outwards from, there is self in the body and what is needed for to keep the body running at a very basic level. Then that of the other family members. So you have to first compute one set of expenses which are, let us say, to keep the body going, which are the grocery expenses for protection, for right utilization. Then under different heads such as transport, things that you have to pay for services. Then you have one head of expenses that are needed to fulfill your relationship with others. For instance, you have a son or a daughter or a brother or an elder brother and they have to be supported. It's no longer your requirement, but it is a fulfillment of the family. So that will be another head. Okay. So ऐसा करते करते you have to know what are the goods you need and what is the money that is needed to source those goods. And then you should be able to see in monetary terms that I have more than that is needed. Statistically, calculation wise, this is one aspect. The other aspect is you have to continue to do what is called as Adhyana study on the fact that I am the coexistence of self and body. And the more clear we get on, the fact that I am not just the body, but not the body, the fear will also start reducing. There's no other way. Yeah, that's called dhan bhai. पैसा होते हुए भी लगता है कि कम है ना. The third easy thing is let somebody else manage your finances and forget about it. Give it to somebody, give him the password, somebody you trust and say, मुझे महीने में 40,000 rupees चाहिए, बाकी तू निपट. That's what I did. People have tried so many things to get rid of that. It's difficult. Okay. So we'll come to that. Hopefully we have time. Let us see. I've been hoping so much that we have time for this and that. But really, the second is ethics with people. Clear? So this was intellectual law in brief. The second is ethics with people. So in society, what will be social law or social character? How will I ensure that mera character acha in society? And this one is pretty simple, pretty straightforward, pretty universal because we already kind of have a sense of it. When do we say somebody's character is bad? Society में. When do you say this is a characterless guy? गांव में किसको बोलते हैं? जो लड़की को लेकर भागता है. Multiple नहीं, एक सोने से भी काय को multiple. Even one affair will be seen as loss of character. Multiple तो गया, right? Or he's stealing, or in what is called as bad habits. Correct? So these are three. One is called occupational ethics or righteous wealth. This is called swadhan. I will write the Hindi terms here. See, this part you will find this. Oops. This computer is now groaning. This is called swadhan. Okay. Swadhan means righteous wealth. What does that mean? Wealth acquired in such a fashion that it is not creating an imbalance in society on as far as the goals of societies are concerned. That I have understood, not according to what society believes is correct. See, today, for instance, is selling wine legal or illegal in the country? Legal, as long as you get a license. As long as you pay the government, selling liquor is legal. But is liquor beneficial for society or is it not beneficial? Not beneficial because it causes multiple health problems, it causes character problems. So although the government allows it, my family may not allow it. Yeah, my family may say the government is fine, but you should not be in the liquor business here. What kind of business is it? Yeah, sometimes the family too permits it. But when we study ourselves and existence and the way society should be, we find no, I don't want to partake in any business or any form of income that is actually causing an imbalance in society. Yeah, so that's an example of Swadhan. or to explain Swadhan, not an example of Swadhan. Alright. So Swadhan actually arises from three sources. One is called Pratifal, or the outcome of production. The second is called Paritosha, or a gift. Okay. And the third is called Puraskar, or what's the Puraskar? Puraskar is not just a certificate, a reward. Yeah. Like if you go somewhere and they feel you've done something useful for society and they give you a shawl. Now the shawl is yours. The organizers cannot come back and say, oh, shawl kodi. You that. Well, boss, you gave it to me. It's mine. Yeah. Yeah. Which is why when they give you shawl in the functions, you see, वो 250 rupees का shawl होता है. उसमें लिखा रहता ओसवाल shawl, but it will not be an Oswald shawl. When we were growing up, जो सबसे अच्छे जो स्वेटर होता था, my father would say Oswald sweater है. एक Oswald sweater था which was pure wool. Then everybody started putting Oswald champa. Then it lost its significance. So they'll give you the 250 rupees shawl. उसका प्रमाण क्या है? If you use it 2 to 3 times, उससे that synthetic thread will start coming out. Okay. So these are the three ways in which we look at wealth. All right. Marital ethics or fidelity in marital life. Huh? Whatever it is. Okay. Martial ethics. Ooh. Okay. That's fine. You get the drift. देखिए ना, अपने आप हो रहा है. You didn't believe it could be martial. You're pretty sure it cannot be martial ethics. So marital ethics or fidelity is called Swanari, okay, or Swapurush, which means I maintain fidelity in conjugal relationship. Why? Because that's what's naturally acceptable to me. I cannot image after marriage. It is impossible to image or imagine one's wedded husband or wife in a relationship with somebody else. Is it not? Is it naturally acceptable or is it not? Number one. Number two, what is beneficial for the balance in society? That we maintain fidelity or that we have affairs? Maintain fidelity. In a society where affairs are common, that society cannot be balanced. You will be far away from the human goal, right? Of intellectual resolution in every sense and fearlessness in society. Can there be a fearless society where infidelity or adultery is very common? No. And you see, when you watch movies these days, if at all, any of us does, there are these stories in which they say the wife is constantly afraid when the man comes home late. Or if he has another, ये सब movie में दिखाते हैं ना. So it has actually led to fear because now we are no longer confident that there will be this, faithfulness in marriage. Unfortunately, it has crept into Indian cities now in some sections, and that's not acceptable. We don't want to do that. And I recollect one of the examples I really gave was how even if you're having an adulterous affair, we want faithfulness within that adultery. You are married, I'm married, I'm having an affair with you, but now we want to be faithful. So it is very rare, extremely rare that somebody would accept it. The third one is called behavioral ethics or kindness in behavior and work. That is called Daya Purna Karya Vyavhar. That's also called letting live and live. That we don't go out of our way to bother or trouble people. Alright? So these three put together really are what are called as social character or law. You can see that the first one is to do with wealth, the second one is to do with the body, and the third one is to do with the mind. वो मार्शल को टिक कर दो। ये बुक में स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक हो गया, फिर से मैंने मार्शल लिखा। हाँ, हाँ, अच्छा, एरो, ठीक, वो ठीक। So if we adopt or the society adopts this social law, then we'll have, don't you think we'll have a more stable society? If everybody just adopts these three simple laws, very simple. We adopt righteous wealth, तो चोरी नहीं है. In fact, you see all the reporting that we see in the newspaper में जो hot story आता है वो क्या है? The breaking of these laws. The entire Indian Penal Code consists of ways in which you can do this, the ways in which you can steal, the ways in which you can break the first law, which is occupational ethics, the ways in which you can, having ये इसके साथ भाग गया. Yeah. This afternoon after I had lunch, I went to rest in the room and I did a left, swipe on the phone to see the news feed. The first top news feed was 42-year-old headmistress from, I think, some taluka in Karnataka, government school headmistress was suspended because she was caught, kids, she was caught kissing a class, a boy from her school was kissing her and playing with her, and somebody took a video on a class trip. She's 42, and a classmate took it and he circulated it. And it reached the boy's parents' home and they were furious. And then she was suspended pending an inquiry. And you know where it happened? In Honavar and Yana. This is where we're going to see. Just this afternoon. You wouldn't think that in a state, in India, in a state like Karnataka, in a small village school, in a government school, a lady who's 42 years old, so maximum 12th standard tak hoga na government school mein. So the boy is what, 16 or 18? Up to 10, फिर तो 16 है, and you're 42. Yeah? So, so really, even if our, media and messaging and the stories that we make and write and read avoid these three categories of errors or flaws, we'll still be better off.
Is this social law a universal law or
universal law?
But if we see the evolution or the history of humanity, so स्वनारी स्वपुरुष का पहले कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं था. अगर हम शुरू से देखें,
क्योंकि कुत्ता बिल्ली से आया. क्योंकि कुत्ता बिल्ली से आया, जीव चेतना से आया, अभी मानव बनने का कोशिश कर रहा है. आई काफी हो गया मानव, जो बचा कुचा है उसको बनाना है. एवोल्यूशनली,
मतलब ये इस पे काफी
एवोल्यूशनली जीव चेतना है ना, 4.4 क्रिया है, तो कहां घुस जाता है? क्यों नहीं है कंसेप्ट? बिकॉज इफ आई फील आई एम द बॉडी, देन आई एम गोइंग टू सी दिस कोइटस, ये जो मैथुन क्रिया है, आई एम गोइंग टू सी इट आउटसाइड द बाउंड्स ऑफ मैरिज. इसका मतलब ये बड़ा हो गया ना? नहीं, that's why it's called जीव चेतना, because मैं शरीर हूं. So what I will do, whatever is needed, as long as the body is fulfilled. But the moment you bring in feelings and expectations in the family and how your wife and son and children will feel, वो जो 42-year-old headmistress है अभी जो सस्पेंड, उसका हालत क्या होगा सोचो. उसके हस्बैंड होगा, उसका बच्चा होगा, and her photo kissing a 16-year-old boy from her school has been published in the Google news feed. Of course, the face has been smudged, but सबको तो पता होगा ना यही है, because she'll stop going to school from tomorrow. Husband से क्या हो गया? तो इसका आंसर क्या है? यूनिवर्सल नहीं तो और क्या है?
बस इज इट अप्लाई टू भारत में ये ठीक है, लेकिन क्या सभी कंट्रीज में जहां तो ये स्वनारी स्वपुरुष का कॉन्सेप्ट ही नहीं है, विदेशों में तो
कॉन्सेप्ट विदेश में कुछ भी हो,
तो वहां
Self
पे इज इट
विदेश
रियली नेचुरल, लाइक मतलब ये क्वेश्चन मार्क है.
ठीक है ना. विल कॉल देम एंड टॉक टू देम. व्हाई शुड यू एंड आई बी डिस्कसिंग व्हाट दे शुड बी फॉलोइंग. वो जब आ जाएंगे उनसे बात कर लेंगे.
या
जब
जैसे
अंग्रेज आ
अभी
जाएंगे, पहले भारत को ठीक कर लेते. जब अंग्रेज आ जाएंगे उनसे बात कर लेंगे. हो गया.
अभी जैसे भारत में ये बहुत ही ट्रेंड जो है कॉमन होता जा रहा है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल 45-50 ईयर्स का भी बंदा होगा, वो लिव इन रिलेशनशिप में अगर दोनों की सहमति होती है तो दे डू नॉट मैरी बट दे कम इन टू लिव इन रिलेशनशिप कि हम साथ में रहेंगे. द गर्ल में बी 30 year old, लाइक यू नो. बट क्या वो सब सही, उसको कैसे देखेंगे हम फिर, अगर दोनों का कॉन्सेंट है, दोनों साथ में रह
जीव
रहे.
चेतना, उसका नाम है जीव चेतना. उतना ही है. कुछ सहज स्वीकृति, सहज बहुत स्वीकार हो रहा है लिव इन रिलेशनशिप. इसीलिए सहज स्वीकृति आपके लिए में कुछ नहीं करेगा. मेरे को दारू पीना सहज स्वीकार है, आपको गांजा पिलाना सहज स्वीकार है. द इनपुट हैज टू बी करेक्ट. That's okay, let them do it. If they want to be comprehensively happy and not have conflict within, if they spend even a little bit of time understanding themselves and understanding existence, and if they want to see how to be in order, then they will adopt a set of laws that ensure that they are in order and that ensures orders for everybody else. But if they are completely unaware of it and they want to focus on only one aspect of their living, which is to get, let's say, sensual pleasure at any cost, they can go ahead and do it. Who's stopping them? But it will contradict their own need for comprehensive happiness, because although you're getting the pleasure from the body, okay, in a living relationship, you will have behavioral and intellectual conflict. And if you're okay living with that conflict, go ahead and do it. Who's stopping you?
But if they are making sure that all aspects will be fulfilled in live-in relationship, is it why it is necessary to put the title of marriage?
They cannot fulfill. How will they fulfill the non-conflict? Conflict तो रहेगा ही ना. Why are they not married? If you are willing to live in together, what is the problem in marrying? What is the difference between a live-in relationship and a marriage? The difference.
Because society won't accept the huge gap between ages, maybe. Like, you know.
Not just that. Other than that, what is the difference? We don't want to take responsibility. जिम्मेदारी नहीं चाहिए. You want the option to be able to walk out anyway. मैंने नई चिड़िया देख ली, मैं वहां जाना चाहता हूं. I want that freedom. When I get bored of this bird, I'll go look for another bird. That's why we need live-in relationship. We don't want to commit, right? And then we don't want to stay in one place. We don't want to do that whole grihasti thing. We don't want to have children. Because once you commit, what is marriage? Marriage is nothing but two people declaring to the world that we're going to stay together and, be complementary in these four dimensions: materially, for each other's body, the material things; behaviorally, okay, for feelings; and the joint responsibility, if you have children, towards each other's parents. Because after marriage, her parents are also your parents are her parents. वो यदि हॉस्पिटल गया, आपको भागना पड़ेगा. आपका जो हॉस्पिटल है उसको भी भागना पड़ता है. Her cousin is getting married, you have to go for the wedding. So that's a huge responsibility. It's a huge family society. And if possible, intellectually and spiritually. But even if you don't do these two, you are bound for these two, and we don't want to commit. Why will society not allow you to marry? You go somewhere, if you are in Jaipur, go to Kanyakumari and stay. Who's going to come? Kodori लोगों को फुर्सत किधर है भाई? Then they'll come searching for you. Why did you marry? You have 12 years difference. किसी को फुर्सत नहीं है. Go to Kanyakumari. शादी करके कन्याकुमारी चले जाओ. She can help you. She's closer. No. I said you're closer to Kanyakumari. I mean, whoever wants to go, I mean, she'll know how to get there. So really, the argument, so we saw that there is freedom of imagination. Yeah, we are able to imagine, and there's freedom of action. Correct. So human beings have the freedom of action, and we did see that we have the freedom to act according to what we think should be done, like in a live-in relationship or in adultery or even in Europe, for instance. But it is bound. We don't have control over the repercussions. And if you see the repercussion of anything like that, it has a long-standing repercussion not just on those individuals involved, but also on society per se. If we imagine a society where nobody is marrying and having children, because they will have children. How long can you stop children from happening? And people do have children even before marriage, correct? But are not willing to commit to the responsibility of marriage. Would you see that as a stable society or an unstable society? The children growing up, imagine that child, he doesn't know whether the father will be there next month because it's a live-in relationship. There is no commitment. So the only difference, so you see, when you put a ring in marriage or when we tie the Mangal Sutra, वो बाहर का एक प्रतीक है. It is just a notional value. You can remove it. Who's going to stop you? But it's not the Mangal Sutra that is keeping you bound. It is the commitment you made to those 200 people. It's the public declaration that you made. Even if you have a court marriage, you have to go and sign. You're basically telling the court, you're telling the law that from tomorrow she and I are legally wedded. Otherwise, there's no need to do that. We can stand under the coconut tree and drink coconut water and say, I'm married. Who'll stop you? And still be committed. Which is why the institution of marriage is very deeply embedded in society. Family and society are very deeply embedded. It cannot be separated. अभी जो वेस्ट में हो रहा है it's actually going haywire. The reason the Western world is going haywire is because they have gone so much into the materialistic domain, ignoring everything else. And imagine we're taking all this infinite ability to imagine, then the need for infinite happiness and continuous happiness, and pumping everything only into things in the body. Then it's going to go haywire, and then suffering its consequences. If you listen to the sociologists, if you listen to their commentators, in the UK, girls as young as 13 are getting pregnant. 13. What will a 13-year-old girl know what to do? She herself is a child. So that seeing क्या है, self equal to body का हिंदी में बोलेंगे तो पराकाष्ठा. So what happens is, I am separate. Sex is a bodily need. How convenient, right? But it's my body. I mean, you're responsible for what you do with it. So we basically, what they've done is they've outsourced these different needs. This is the need of my tongue. This is the need of my organ. This is the need of my ear. So left parietal lobe wants sex. The right parietal lobe wants to listen to Michael Jackson. The frontal lobe wants to do string theory. Correct? And the occipital lobe wants to sleep. Abhi gaya kaam se. So where will you find this guy? You cannot get him to take any responsibility. He has, basically outsourced his responsibility to different parts of his own brain. नहीं, if I am the brain, तो हो गया तो मैं इधर स्ट्रिंग थ्योरी पढ़ाऊंगा, उधर आई विल हैव 2 वाइफ्स, इधर दारू पीऊंगा, इधर गांजा बेचूंगा, ऐसा हो गया. Whereas when we see here, we see that the self is an integral whole and it is interacting with various parts of the brain. Finally, वो जो मान्यता है, it goes down to the deep thing that I am the brain and I am the body. Holistic का नहीं, उनको ऐसा नहीं है भैया. See, when Christianity was still dominant, okay, what happened, I really think, is that see, science is an outcome of the Christian world. Modern science and everything that we use, from this bulb to this electricity to this, everything that we're sitting on, except maybe this chadar and that jolada roti that we ate, is ours. Even the name caustic soda, the formula sodium hydroxide, is by them. हमने थोड़ी बनाया NaOH. Na को पता करने वाला आदमी अंग्रेज है, O को पता करने वाला आदमी अंग्रेज है, H को पता करने वाला आदमी अंग्रेज है. Only the coconut oil is ours. Neem oil, coconut oil is ours. Even that weighing scale that we used is by the British, by the Europeans. It's a digital weighing scale. We don't know how it works. We're making it in India, but we didn't invent it. So I think what really happened is, with the advent of science, religious beliefs were challenged. Okay, that whatever the beliefs are in Christianity, we don't need to get into that. And when it was challenged, people didn't have an answer. So the adoption of the materialistic way of life seems to have been much faster there, because you gave up hope that anything is going to come from religion. And उनको जो बांध के रखा था within the family was really this Christian belief, this religious belief that it is wrong. Don't, what is it? Thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not look at your neighbor's wife. उसको पता था कि बाजू वाले के पत्नी को देखता है, बाइबल में लिख के गया है ना. Do not do unto others what you will not do unto yourself. 2000 years ago से प्रॉब्लम है ना. वे 2023 जीसस को जाके बराबर 2023 हुआ. Add another 20-30 years to 2063 years ago also the world had the same problem. Adultery and आज का थोड़ी है प्रॉब्लम. तभी तो लिखा है भाई बाइबल में. So and the issue is because of this, because the self is so tightly integrated with the body that when you lose yourself in the body, you lose sense of self. यहाँ पर इंडिया में देखेंगे तो हिस्टोरिकली अगेन we've had very strong religious. No religion in the world allows you to commit adultery, and no science in the world can tell you anything about adultery, because science is beyond ethics. It's a totally different domain. So they say ethics and morals are the domain of religion. It's your private space. And what is public is what is objective. What is objective? The langur, the donkey, the stone. Right? So we don't, so these two. Yeah? So we'll finish the laws. Okay? So from there, आप कुछ बता रहे. हो गया, कवर हो गया. संग्रह का, हाँ, प्रॉस्पेरिटी के साथ ही है.
पहले जब प्रॉस्पेरिटी बोली थी तब हम बोल रहे थे हमें प्रॉस्पेरस होना है, और अभी बोल रहे हैं कि संग्रह नहीं कर रहे हैं उसको प्रॉस्पेरिटी. तो
संग्रह विधि से ही हम प्रॉस्पेरस हो पाएंगे. हम अक्यूमुलेशन करके प्रॉस्पेरस नहीं हो पाएंगे. हमको हमारे अंदर जो प्रॉस्पेरिटी की जो फाइनल क्लैरिटी चाहिए हमको is only possible when we have clear, let me put it this way, our acceptance or experience or feeling of being prosperous is going to be in direct proportion to our clarity about our needs and the body's needs and the needs of the family and what is needed for living, properly. It's going to be direct proportion to that clarity. The more clarity we get here, the more prosperous we're going to feel. The more confusion we have here, that my needs are going to be fulfilled. Remember the whole day that we spend on my needs and the body needs. The more confusion that I have that my needs are going to be fulfilled by money, the more insecure I'm going to feel about money. Number one. The other reason to feel insecure about money is also when I'm not able to see myself as being part of the family, and vice versa. The family too doesn't see me as part of being them. For instance, does an individual get prosperous or is the family prosperous? The family is prosperous. But what happens is, due to the kind of education that we're getting and the way society is going, individualism is on the rise. So I start believing that I have some independent existence other than my family when it comes to money, because all of us have our own bank account. Yeah, so my father's account is different from my account, and that assumption is also kept into the family. So everybody has their own bank account, but we're all together. I mean, when I think of my responsibility, includes that of my child and my father and my father-in-law also. What do I do? मेरा father-in-law को नी टूट गया ना, I say sorry, I don't have money. He has to take care of it from his. नहीं तो उसको लंगड़ते रहने दे. नहीं होता है ना यार. You have to go and pay for it. पत्नी जान खा जाएगी, है ना? You have to go pay for your father-in-law's surgery. You have to let go of your wife. तो तू भी जा, तेरा बाप भी जा, मैं नहीं कर रहा सर्जरी. You can't do that. You have to pay for it. So really, on two accounts, individually, we need the clarity in our mind of the difference between the self and the body. That adhyan has to continue, and that's going to be a long adhyan. If we are saying the self is distinct from the body, okay, we are basically trying to move away from 4,000 years of human belief, leaving some traditions in this subcontinent, some traditions. So that's one big thing that we'll have to work at. And the other part is really we have to see how do we see our wealth as belonging, as being an integral part of the family or as something independent that I own. So the insecurity will come from both counts. One is lack of clarity of how much I need. The second is a feeling that I'm alone and nobody is going to help me. I'm on my own. And unfortunately, in some cases, that could be true, that you're totally alone, that nobody is going to come forward to help you. And that's unfortunate. I mean, that's the way society has become. Or even if there are people, that they're so poor themselves that they're not going to be able to help you. But for the purposes of understanding, if we are able to expand here, abhi ulta ho gaya. We've diverged from here and we are trying to get here. If you know the limitation of this and the expanse of this, both will help lead to the feeling of prosperity. And ultimately, non-accumulation will come from the degree of clarity of the distinction between the self and the body. And that has to, I mean, we can do simple exercises like find out how many clothes you want and how many clothes you want for your body and now count, and we'll probably do that if we have time. I don't think we have time for that anymore. But if you get the basics, then you'll be able to do that on your own, or if you listen to some of the sessions online. Yeah. So the third one is called behavioral ethics or kindness in behavior and work. It's called Dayapun Karyavavhar. Basically, that means letting live and live, which means I will not disturb or trouble somebody in society, and I'll just let them go on their path to understanding. What that also means is that if you're going down the street, I'm not going to catch you and say, I think you are living in underdeveloped consciousness and I have to explain existence to you and all of us have to become awakened. He'll run away from you, thinking you've lost it. So we let people go their path and we walk our path. And as and when the opportunity arises, then we, really communicate it. For instance, you and I are sitting in this setting, and which is why we're able to have this conversation. But if we were together on a 5-day hike and this is all I talk to you about, you would not want to have any of it. तो लोगों के पीछे पड़ के उनको जागृत नहीं करना है या that's not on. We live our life. जीने देना जीना. That's one of the examples. That also goes for the people in our own household. We go back home and catch hold of everybody at home and say you need to become awakened. It won't work. So that's really some examples of the Apun Karyavavhar. And the third is ethics with nature, which is called natural law. In nature, just like we said, I will live in a way in which I am not disturbed. I will live in a way in which I do not disturb other people. Similarly, I live in a way in which I do not disturb nature. I let it be. So we already have discussed this. So basically it means that there are two problems that are happening there. One is of resource depletion and the other of pollution. So resource depletion essentially means that I am taking from nature something at a rate that is faster than nature can replenish it. For example, water. Yeah. So I'm pulling up groundwater at a rate faster than the earth is able to take in water. So now we've broken the cycle. So I have to go deeper and deeper. Okay. Similarly, I'm taking out, let us say, fossil fuels at a rate faster than nature can create fossil fuels, because nature did create fossil fuels at one point in time. It was created by nature. Okay. So that's an example of resource depletion. Example of pollution is that we are giving back something to nature that nature is not able to digest within its natural cycle. So, common examples are greenhouse gases, sometimes too much vehicle and industrial effluent, thermocol, plastics, etc. But unfortunately, they've become such a integral part of our life. Like this, the cover of this laptop is plastic, for instance. Yeah, very difficult to make a metal. So, as human beings, we will need to take things from nature, and we will need to probably put things that cannot go back into the soil, but the problem really arises when that balance is totally upset. So as an individual, I can do whatever is possible, and sometimes it's really not possible. Like all of us have used some internal combustion engine using diesel to get here, or petrol. At some point in your journey, you had to touch some diesel or petrol vehicle. Otherwise, you can't reach here. To discuss that we should not be using diesel, you have to touch diesel. So there will be these kind of apparent contradictions. And the reason for that really is that the systems that we live in and the world out there is going on its own course, and we are part of that world. So you will have to have those touch points. But as individuals, we can try and at least um, internally accept that we don't want to be doing this. Okay? And realize that it's a part of what, the way the world is right now. Again, this may seem like a contradiction, but when we are settled in the understanding that this is going to take a long time, when we understand why humans have reached where they've reached, then it helps us better deal with those things. Okay? For instance, they talk of this whole sea of plastic that is sitting somewhere in the ocean. Yeah, it's the size of some state or something like that. Kya kare? You can't do anything individually, and those that are trying to stop it will probably have some result. But many a times it doesn't have any result. There are these green warriors now in the US and in the West, especially in countries like Germany, where they'll go and lie down in front of a truck and say stop oil and don't use oil and all that. But उससे कुछ नहीं होता है. They show them the video of them dragging the fellow away and driving away. But if public opinion changes and pressure comes upon elected representatives, and maybe they pass some laws, and then the industry has to listen to those laws and then change the way it operates. For instance, the government gives subsidy for electric vehicles. This year they are taking it back. Electric two-wheeler के लिए subsidy दिया था 30% or something, 40%. Huh? Yeah, we have to mine. And Mongolia. So Mongolia, the capital of Mongolia is a place called Ulaanbaatar, one of the most polluted places on the planet because they're mining for lithium there. So we can use it in our cell phones and laptops. And so yeah, it's a little circular. Huh? Electric vehicles के लिए जो lithium ion है. Yeah. Total, if you see the total carbon footprint, yeah. Yeah. Polluting as in what he means is total carbon footprint. See, on the spot, the visible pollution is more in a diesel vehicle as compared to an electric vehicle. The visible smoke, but the overall footprint, the overall problem that that it creates, yeah, the total pollution, the total carbon footprint. Yeah, that's one part, but there's also when we get to, I don't think we'll get there. Living with nature, we'll probably do relationships tomorrow and day after, and we'll have to call it a day. That's all we have time for. Tomorrow and day after, we'll talk about trust, respect, the 8 human relationships, and the mother-in-law and the father-in-law and the brother-in-law that don't listen and all that. Yeah. But if you look at the relationship with nature, one of the things, the interesting observations that comes up really in the darshan is that, it's a very interesting logic that anything black actually absorbs heat. So if you wear a black coat, for instance, you will feel very hot. Summer mein, आप काला कपड़ा पहने, you will feel very hot. You wear a white shirt, it reflects heat. So, what color is crude oil? Black. Where is it? Inside. So the crude oil is serving 2 purposes. So this is the Earth's crust, there's crude oil, and there is the hot core of the Earth. So the crude oil is preventing the heat from the molten core of the Earth from reaching the surface. The crude oil is also helping absorb the heat from the Earth's crust that is coming from the sun, the excess heat. So it's like this cool layer. And what are we doing? We are sucking it out and burning it outside. So now you're doubling the problem. The अंदर से भी गर्म होगा because now the heat from the core is going to more readily reach the crust. Okay, so it's like you put a rocket in your behind and in your mouth. First time. सोचो, everybody is talking of pollution, scientists, climate change, ये देखो क्या रामबाण, मतलब सोच है, नीचे से भी गर्म हो रहा है. And the heat of the sun that would come, that this could absorb, is also now staying in the crust for longer because the crude oil is not able to absorb it. Yeah. And the stuff that we are burning upper on in the Earth's atmosphere, correct? Yeah, the ozone layer is also going, so there's more heat coming down also. So we are going to be like, nice toasted biscuits. In about 200 years, we'll all look like biscuits, like good day biscuits. That's where we're heading. So there's no point accumulating, you see. You can't spend it. I mean, when we accumulate, we cannot spend it. Where will you spend it? Everything is heating up. In the long term, those who are saving up for the 7th generation might as well give up. वो रहेगा ही नहीं. He's going to get toasted like cake and biscuit if this goes on. This will go on. So the hope is that by 2050, the Indian population, I mean, according to statistics, they're saying is going to maximize and then taper down. And then the African countries are going to keep producing. The world population is going to peak at 1,000 crores in 2081 and then start coming down. So the overall population has to come down. The number of people and our demand for resources, our demand for cars, and the whole way. See, imagine if people imagine, because right now it's just an imagination. We are all 15 of us sitting in some corner of Karnataka, and maybe some more people. So just like us, there are 80 people sitting in one corner of Delhi as we speak, and another 100 people sitting in one corner of Gujarat as we speak, having the same discussion on the same subject, looking at the same space and understanding the same Jivan and the same activity. That's the fun of it. Okay, it's slowly. So, if everyone is able to have some inkling of this understanding, then the need for, individual transport, the need to unnecessarily travel, the need to unnecessarily buy will come down in slow increments. Only then, so as the demand goes down, the supply will also go down. As the nature of the demand changes, the nature of the supply will change. In Europe, there are companies that have stopped selling toothpaste in that tube. You know, that tube is so polluting. Everything, हमारा toothpaste का जो tube है, अब proper toothpaste को किस में रखोगे? Toothpaste का जो tube है, so they're giving refillable tooth. So they have a canister that you can press once and it spit out toothpaste, and then you can go and reload the toothpaste in the store. So you go to the toothpaste, whatever you pay your 50, cents, and then you just reload your toothpaste and come out. You don't have to buy that entire tube. Yeah. People are eating another great source of, methane emissions is also, and resource hungry is also non-vegetarian food. If you take all the heads of, non-vegetarian, so 1 kg of nutrition that you get from, let's say, a goat or a pig or a cow, takes 30 times more resources than the equivalent nutrition that you get from vegetarian sources. So, non-vegetarian food is very resource hungry. So there are a lot of people in Europe now and some in the US. Europe is always, there was no US, no? US probably had. So Europe is still ahead. Where you have vegetarian meat, but they got used to chewing and they need to eat. So now even in Pune, interesting, a lot of Punjabi restaurants, and I had it recently. I didn't know, my brother introduced me, and I kind of liked it. It's called chop. What's it called? Chop, soya chop. It is a replacement for shawarma. Yeah, see, he's getting interested. It's a replacement for shawarma. So what they do is, shawarma is a page. Ye to bechara, he is a Jaini. How will he know what is shawarma? For Santosh bhai, it's a big deal to be able to eat pyaj and lasun. Abhi shawarma kahan se? Tradition. शवरमा में क्या करते हैं, मीट को लटकाते हैं और मीट के अलग अलग टुकड़ों को, है ना, वो रोटेट होते रहता है, एंड देन उसका टुकड़ा टुकड़ा करके उसको खाते हैं. So it's like a delicacy, slices. So they've been able to recreate it using soya. They take soya milk and they're able to make it taste like mutton. So those people, so in the West, there is a big movement now to get plant-based meat. So it's a funny name. It's not meat anymore, but it's a plant-based burger tikki, and it tastes like your mutton tikki or whatever, your sausage tikki. That's also processed intensively, but still, see, you have to start somewhere. Finally, if you question everything, then everything is justified. But so this is the thing. So now, if user behavior changes and users start demanding plant-based meat for commercial reasons, not for Nyaya Dharam Satya, some business guy somewhere will start producing that in larger numbers. And then somebody will stop rearing so many goats and cows, and hence all the fodder for that goat and cow, because it takes 30 times more energy to create that amount of calories from this thing. So in the US, it has even made it into the television debates now. अभी तो बीच में I even heard Trump howling over it. Trump तो मांसाहारी है ना, carnivorous. Vegetarian is called herbivorous, non-vegetarian is carnivorous, है ना? So yeah, so I mean the long answer for pollution really is very complicated. Yeah, for environment cleanliness and all that. But yeah, fossil fuel seems to be, this time they had this COP 28, 22, 23, sorry, meeting. कौन सा था, क्या तो number है, but yeah, so again they've got some funds, some $400 million. Again, to get rid of pollution, you need money. Funding कहाँ से मिलेगा? So now they're saying the rich countries should pay more and the poor countries will pay less and so on and so forth. Yeah, so natural law is something that we adopt.
But yeah, say related itself question.
And tomorrow we will come to this. Living with people and italics में लिखा है closely. ये तो दूर से हम जी गए. नेचर के साथ, है ना, सोसाइटी के साथ, इंटेलेक्ट के साथ, अभी चिपक के जिएंगे. Tomorrow we'll get stuck to people and see what happens when we get stuck to people. That's where the problem. As long as you're not near me, I have no problem. Yes. That's where all the stuff starts leaking, Your ego and my ego will reach someplace in the middle and start creating a reaction like that sodium hydroxide. How often you go and say? If you go for a few weeks, every few months, your mother will always like you. And if you take Dharwad Peda and, Mysore Pak and all that, no problem. The issues when both of you share the same kitchen, when you and your mother are in the same refrigerator, both of you want to make sambar together, that's where coexistence will be tested. दूर से तो everybody is very nice. Damage control. तो उसमें भी see, there will be one theoretical answer and then we will give one practical answer. Because still the other person will also see. Because मुझे ये करने को 12 साल लगने वाला है. Other person को तो interest ही नहीं है. So how do I do? And at the same time, जो English में बोलते हैं ना, how do you keep it at bay? And there is a very beautiful concept for it, and we've already covered it, kind of. We spoke of Roop, Gun, Swabhav, Dharm. Swabhav, the understanding of Swabhav and Dharm is called Vastu Gat Satya. Truth in state, or objective truth. And Roop and Gun is called Vastu Sthiti Satya. It's called relative truth. In fact, when we understand relative truth, we get a better understanding of why the Advaitin caused the world Maya or illusory, because it is actually changing. But the fact is, it continues to change. That's the point that they missed. It's not untrue because it changes. Okay? The truth is that it will keep changing. That is the truth. पलट दिया है. उसका truth क्या है? It will change. इसका truth क्या है? It will not change. Okay? Good. So we'll go back to soap adhikar. We'll go and make soap. And see you tomorrow at 9. So we have 2 full days for relationship. That's nice. That's enough. Okay? Good. आज बहुत हो गया. आज के लिए बहुत हो गया. Let's go back.